Ahoy, fellow pirates! Black Flag is one of the best Assassin's Creed games ever made, and now it's back with more treasure than ever. But can ye old wreck of a PC handle it? Let's whip out the spyglass and take a closer look at the system requirements, engine powering it, and what graphics and gameplay to expect as we begin to sail the seas on the 9th of July. And if you don't want to walk the plank, hit subscribe. Yarr! The Black Flag remake has been developed on an updated version of Ubisoft's Anvil engine, last used for 2025's Assassin's Creed Shadows. This is a proper remake with the entire game built from the ground up, with all the features you'd expect from a modern title. Many of the original game's developers have actually returned to implement a new parry-driven combat system, enhanced parkour moves, reworked naval combat, new quests and stories, and of course a total graphics overhaul. As a result, you can expect high-resolution textures, more detailed environments, and realistic physics with dynamic weather and water simulation. Black Flag was ahead of its time visually, and I remember being in awe of how beautiful it was. But now the Caribbean has been brought to life, and I can't believe how incredible it looks in all the trailers. It's brighter and sharper, with realistic lighting and shadows due to the support for ray trace lighting with global illumination and reflections. There's also support for 4K HDR with uncapped frame rates, ultra-wide resolutions, AMD Eyefinity, and NVIDIA Surround. However, all those showy visuals can be taxing on your hardware. Thankfully, the game has all the latest upscaling technologies, including NVIDIA DLSS 4.5, AMD FSR 4, and Intel XeSS 3. The dynamic resolution support helps reduce bottlenecks by automatically adjusting the resolution during those demanding scenes while maintaining the frame rate. Low-end devices can utilize efficient software ray tracing options, allowing for advanced lighting on a GPU that doesn't have support for hardware-accelerated ray tracing. There's even a dedicated handheld preset, ideal if you're playing on something like a Steam Deck. The engine seems to be well optimized with great scalability, along with a variety of options to tune the various different settings. You'll easily be able to tune and tweak for your specific setup, then test out the performance using the in-game benchmark tool. Now, let's change course and set sail into the official system requirements. Ubisoft has released a very detailed spec list, so let's leap straight into the system requirements. The following is what you'll need no matter what resolution and settings you want to play at. If you're still hanging on to Windows 10, you'll be pleased to know that Resynced does still support the aging OS. Although I'd recommend taking the free upgrade to 11 before October when all support ends. The static storage requirement reveals there are no extra texture packs to be downloaded on the Ultra settings. However, it is quite modest for a modern title, and you need just 65 GB of space. Although you do need an SSD, although this is no real surprise with the lack of loading screens, which is a huge quality of life upgrade over the original. As with most modern titles, an internet connection is required. But if you have a poor connection, you'll be pleased to know you only need it to connect online once to install the game, as the entire experience is actually playable offline. In a world of terrifying memory pricing, it's great that just 16 GB of RAM is needed across all the different settings. Although Ubisoft does specify dual channel mode, likely because on many CPUs, running single channel can cause noticeable stuttering in heavy open world areas. Hopefully you've all ticked all that off, and we can now dive into the minimum requirements. You need at least an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 or Intel Core i7-8700K, or a CPU with at least 6 cores and 12 threads would also be suitable, such as the AMD Ryzen 5 9600 or Intel Core Ultra 5 245KF. Because of the software ray tracing capabilities, you can actually get away with the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660, AMD Radeon RX 5500 XT, or Intel Arc A580. A similar GPU with at least 6GB of VRAM would also work perfectly. However, don't expect the best performance or visuals with this hardware. You're only going to be able to handle about 1080p, around 30 FPS on the low preset, with ray tracing set to standard. You'll also need to enable the balanced upscaling feature. To actually see some of the new graphical enhancements that have been introduced with Resync, you'll want to aim for the recommended requirements. This hardware is going to let you play at 1080p with a super smooth 60 FPS on the medium preset with upscaling. Ray tracing will need to be set to standard, which is essentially software-based, pre-computed lighting. CPU-wise, you need an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 or Intel Core i5-10600K, which is very similar to the minimum requirements, and a CPU with at least 6 cores and 12 threads would also be suitable, such as the AMD Ryzen 5 9600 or Intel Core Ultra 5 245KF. An affordable GPU will do the trick here, as long as it has at least 8GB of VRAM, and an AMD Radeon RX 6600 XT, Intel Arc B580, or NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 are recommended. Ubisoft have also included the hardware you need for high and extreme graphics settings. This is where you should be aiming for if you want the best experience. To play at 1440p at 60 FPS on the high preset, ensure you have at least an AMD Ryzen 5 5600X or Intel Core i5 11600K. Once again, a similar CPU with at least 6 cores and 12 threads would be suitable. Should probably be launched within the last 5 years and have a decent core clock speed. A good modern option would be the AMD Ryzen 5 9600 or Intel Core Ultra 5 245KF. At higher resolutions, the GPU is doing more of the heavy lifting, and you need a good graphics card with plenty of VRAM, like the AMD Radeon RX 6800 XT or NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3080. However, it is recommended to still use the standard software-based ray tracing with upscaling set to quality. A current graphics card that's excellent for 1440p is the RTX 5070 or RX 9070, and you should be able to enable extended ray tracing thanks to the modern features. Now, if you want to enjoy all of the new features and graphics at 4K Ultra, you need some of the best PC hardware available. An AMD Ryzen 7 5700X3D or Intel Core i5 12700K is listed, both great CPUs with 8 cores and at least 16 threads. A more modern equivalent would be the AMD Ryzen 7 9700X or 9800X3D, or if you prefer Team Blue, go for the Intel Core Ultra 7 270K Plus. VRAM seems to be the limiting factor for enjoying Resynced at 4K, and both recommended GPUs have at least 24GB of VRAM, which is a lot. You need at least an AMD Radeon RX 7900 XTX or NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090. I imagine an RTX 5080 would also be okay, but it does only have 16GB of VRAM. Even with so much raw performance, it's recommended to enable upscaling and set it to quality to achieve 60 FPS. However, you can enjoy the extended ray tracing features with detailed global illumination and reflections. The recommended PC spec list is surprisingly varied, and it seems most gaming PCs, even the very budget ones, will be able to run Black Flag Resynced. However, if you want to actually see the stunning new visuals and enable the proper ray trace global illumination, you need a high-end modern PC. If your current system is more of a disheveled wreck than ship-shaped, here's some of my top picks. To play at 1080p and medium to high settings at 60 FPS, I recommend a PC like the OCUK Gaming Graphite. It comes with an Intel Core Ultra 5 250KF, RTX 5060 Ti and 16GB of memory. It also has a high airflow case, an all-in-one cooler and 1TB of high-speed storage for £1,400. For 1440p and high to ultra settings at 60 FPS, I would pick the OCK Gaming Vulture. This is one of our configurable PCs, so you can tweak the spec to an Intel Core Ultra 5 250KF+, 16 gigs of memory, and a Radeon RX 9070 XT. This drops the price to £1,890 from the default spec, and it also comes with 1TB of high-speed storage, a large all-in-one cooler, and premium Fantex case. If you want to play at 4K with extended ray tracing and ultra settings, you need a very high-end system like the OCK Gaming Ultraviolet. It's powered by a Ryzen 7 9800X3D and RTX 5090, which is going to max out pretty much any modern title. You also get 2TB of storage and 32GB of 6000 MHz memory, and a great looking case and cooler. For a PC of this spec, it is competitively priced, but it's still going to set you back £4,700. Overall, Black Flag Resynced looks incredible, but be warned, you are going to need a powerful PC to get the colourful Caribbean paradise that's shown in the trailers. Savvy? Ubisoft's Anvil engine is well optimized for a range of hardware, but if you're going to be cranking up those graphics settings, they're going to have a big impact on performance if your system isn't up to scratch. I'm also surprised to see that upscaling is enabled for every single setting on the recommended spec list. It's going to be quite interesting to see how the gameplay is impacted with this setting disabled. Make sure to let me know in the comments if your PC is going to be stuck at the docks or is ready to embark when Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced launches on the 9th of July. If you like our Can My PC Play series and you'd like to see more, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one, me hearties.